When Benjamin Linus turned the wheel to move the island, he was transported halfway around the world to the Tunisian desert, and he began making contact with the Oceanic Six, who had already found rescue.
Hello, Hugo.
But back on the island, Locke, Sawyer, Juliet, and the remainder of the science team began flashing through time. And during one flash,
Jin. Sawyer?
they found Jin very much alive.
We have to go back to the Orchid.
Excuse me?
That's where all this started. Maybe it's where it'll all stop.
So Locke turned the wheel again, and the time flashes stopped.
I think it's over. I think John did it.
Now what?
Now we wait for him to come back.
After Locke turned the wheel, Sawyer and Juliet were left stranded in 1974. And with Jin and Miles, they joined the Dharma Initiative.
That potato sack of a jumpsuit was hilarious, man. You come put that on every day, you're like, wow, all right. I think Dan had the big sideburns. I liked it. It was funny to be 70s.
Hey, boss.
Evening, Edith.
Sawyer became head of security. Juliet was a mechanic.
Something smells good.
And the two fell in love.
Was that for me?
Whereas Kate and I had 3 years to earn that relationship, they gave us 2 scenes.
I love you.
I love you, too.
But I watched it, and I was convinced. I was rooting for Sawyer and Juliet almost immediately. I mean, Sawyer, when he was talking to Juliet at night after the big storm, you know, sort of pouring his heart out about Kate.
Why don't you tell me now?
I involuntarily, in my head, was thinking, kiss her! Kiss her!
After turning the wheel, Locke was transported 3 years in the future to 2007. He began searching for the Oceanic Six to convince them to return to the island.
I'm not going back.
The answer is no.
No, I'm not going anywhere with you. You leave me alone. And you leave the rest of them alone.
Locke had failed, and when he'd lost all hope...
Wait, please. John, stop.
Benjamin Linus saw a chance to reclaim his role as the leader of the island.
What are you doing here?
There was a special energy in the room that day.
John, just calm down.
What do you want from me?
Please, let me... Answer the question!
I always expect Terry to play a great scene, but he went somewhere further and darker that day.
I don't know where we go from there, but we'll figure something out.
Focus becomes very sharp. It was an intense and really fun day for that reason.
I know where we go. There's a woman here in Los Angeles, Eloise Hawking.
Eloise Hawking. You sure?
Yeah, why? Do you know her?
Yes, John. I know her. I'll miss you, John. I really will.
I would say it was the most intense day's work I ever did in front of the camera.
The news of Locke's death profoundly affected Jack, and was the catalyst in his decision to return to the island.
There was something happening there that didn't even have to do with Jack himself. It had to do with his fate. That whole battle with him and Locke and what he's meant to do, he cannot let go of the notion that he has free will, and at the same time it's destroying him.
And he said that I had to come back.
All of you have to go back.
We're gonna have to bring him too.
Jack and Ben both wanted to return to the island, so they found a way.
Nigeria Airways, Flight 316.
The Oceanic Six began their journey back. For Kate, it was a chance to reunite Claire with Aaron.
Mr. Shepard, your relation to the deceased?
He was a friend.
To recreate the conditions of the original flight, the body of John Locke was brought on the plane. High over the Pacific, a series of flashes swept through the plane.
Is that a runway? Massive instrument failure. We're putting Mayday. Where is that?
Lapidus' son and Ben landed on the island in present-day 2007.
Frank?
Where'd they go?
They're gone.
But Jack, Kate, Hurley, and Saeed returned to the island 30 years earlier, in 1977.
Jin?
And were reunited with Jin and Sawyer.
I can't believe it!
So what's up with you guys in the old Dharma jumpsuits?
We're in the Dharma Initiative. It's 1977.
Everybody say namaste.
Namaste.
Sawyer ushered his friends into Dharma society.
And don't forget to try the dipping sauces. They really bring out the ham.
Daniel Faraday was also a member of the 1970s Dharma Initiative.
Hey, James.
And he spent his days trying to find a way to prevent the crash of Oceanic 815 from ever happening.
The Dharma folks at the Swan work site, they're going to drill into the ground and accidentally tap into a massive pocket of energy.
Daniel Faraday says if we can detonate a hydrogen bomb, this massive amount of electromagnetic energy that hatch is being built to study will be negated.
And that hatch will never be built, and your plane will land just like it's supposed to.
His idea inspired Jack, and when Faraday was killed, Jack carried out the mission.
They think that the bomb is like a reset button. Passengers of Flight 815 will be back on the plane. They'll be flying to Los Angeles from Sydney, and their lives will go on as though there never was a plane crash.
But the bomb did not detonate.
This don't look like LAX.
The surge of electromagnetic energy had Juliet trapped.
Juliet! Where do you think you're going on here?
That was quite a scene and a great experience to film.
Don't you leave me.
It's okay.
Don't you leave me.
Tough stuff, but it was rewarding.
I love you, James.
No!
I love you so much.
No! No, no, Juliet!
I feel like it rounded out and really honored that relationship we had, or the love that we shared as characters.
Juliet survived the fall and finished what they'd started.
Come on! Come on, you son of a bitch!
The big question as we move into the final season of the show is what is the consequence of Juliet tapping that bomb? At the beginning of the 6th season, we start on Oceanic Flight 815, and it appears that the bomb has actually worked. And our passengers are flying to Los Angeles.
Looks like we made it.
We sure did.
However, we start to realize that there are subtle differences between this group of people and what we saw initially in the pilot of the series.
You really shouldn't tell people you won the lottery. Thanks for the advice, dude, but nothing bad ever happens to me. I'm the luckiest guy alive.
On Lost, we've had flashbacks, and then we had flash forward, and now in the final season of the show, we have these things called flash sideways.
Something wrong? No, you just... Do I know you from somewhere? I'm not sure.
For so long, these people's stories have basically been governed by this idea that the island is pulling them to it. We wanted to tell stories for a very specific reason this year, where the island was not in play. This time around, the island is sunk. It is now on the bottom of the ocean.
And so the passengers of Flight 815 are flying to Los Angeles from Sydney as though there never was a plane crash.
When we actually saw the plane land safely in LAX, I was just like, it was very emotional.
Walking off the plane was so significant. Wow, they made it.
And our brains are telling us, okay, how did this happen? Did it happen because the A-bomb went off and it actually sunk the island, or is there something else going on here?
Hello?
Then, shortly after that, we see our characters are on the island, and they've detonated the bomb, and it didn't work.
No.
They get jumped to what we call island present, but they are still stuck on the island.
It was right back where we started.
I'm sorry. I thought it would work.
Well, it did.
So the audience is left trying to reconcile how is it that we can be watching one story in which our characters are on the island and they're in a state of deep misery.
You did this.
And we're also watching a story in which our characters are landing in Los Angeles, getting off the plane, and so we as an audience are wondering, why do these differences exist?
Thank you so much.
In the Sideways timeline, Jack is a doctor, but is also father to a teenage son.